programs of government. So that is where we are now in all the 4 divisions, transitioning from the recovery phase into the rehabilitation phase.
So we understand that this is one of the most difficult times that we're in, and even more so with the hurricanes amidst the pandemic. What strategy did you do differently this time around with the rehabilitation work that you didn't get to do in the past cycles?
We always learn from the past. A few things are helping us. One is the partnership. Partnership within, locally, and of course partnership with our development partners and our friends. That's very, very critical, and that has really assisted us. 2 is the resilience of the people, and of course resilience in terms of infrastructure and capacities within as well. It took time for us to get into this, but people now adhere to the warnings and the advices, and of course during normal times they are investing into their homes, into their water resources, into things that will save all the unnecessary damages and costs when disasters do happen. And of course a lot of awareness and training. Now communities are empowered, committees are set up. Disaster committees are set up in villages. These are the people that organize the communities. And of course, when it comes to post-disasters, damage assessments, and planning for the initial recovery phase, they take full responsibility, and of course with the assistance of government. So these are the things that are helping us. And most importantly, the investments that have been done over the years. Disaster risk reduction, government now has a disaster risk reduction policy, but definitely we cannot address everything all at once, because disaster risk reduction involves a lot of capital expenditure as well. We have to have resilient infrastructures, and that is why government will continue to upgrade the roads, replace the old bridges, jetties and so forth, because we need these infrastructures, buildings, shelters, schools. This is a critical area for us. Unfortunately, buildings that were not constructed to standard, otherwise that give up easily during these cyclones. But you see the difference when we start investing into building standards. They are safe, not only for the dwelling homes, but of course for government facilities, and of course most importantly schools, hospitals, and essential services. So we need to keep investing into our risk reduction policies so that we can minimize costs. So those are some of the things that will help us in the long term. But again, let's do it gradually, but with a firm commitment on it.
So just your confirmation, we've seen a lot of bilateral interest from your partners in terms of responding to these the impacts of cyclones. Are there donations based on what they can give, or based on the need that your team proposed?
We conduct aid coordination meetings, and that is exactly what we are emphasizing to our friends and partners. If donations can be provided based on the needs and the priorities of government and the communities affected. And of course, we are grateful that the necessary assistance we are getting through these agencies, and of course with the assistance of civil society and non-government organizations as well. That's very, very critical for us so that we can avoid overlaps and duplication and a lot of unnecessary spending on things that are not really in our priority. So the aid coordination is facilitated by NDMO and Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and together with the clusters, they provide that for us.
So with all due respect, please allow me to ask this question. There's been a lot of hype on social media and from a lot of organizations on the now retracted police bill. Can you please tell us how did you arrive, because the Prime Minister had alluded to that it did not reflect on government policies. How did your ministry arrive at the contents that was reflected in the now retracted police bill?
The eventual product will be the bill. The initial work that was endorsed by Cabinet and Government was the review of the 1965 Police Act, and that should be the focus of this public consultation. It's unfortunate that we have taken a step ahead of the process, and that is the reason why it has been retracted. We will work again with the Solicitor General's office to rectify that, and hopefully we'll get back with the consultations on the 1965 Act that will lead to the formulation of the bill that then will go again through the normal process of government.
So in terms of the PM said, like you mentioned, you will work with the SD's office. The SD's office had not vetted it and Cabinet had not endorsed it. So what happens, and will there be any actions taken against somebody who did things and went ahead and went with
Government has prior processes in place. I have instructed that the Ministry of Defence conducts its own preliminary investigation. I will have that investigation on Monday, and I will let the process take care of itself, and we'll see what needs to be done about it.
So in terms of investor confidence, we understand that investor confidence in Fiji has been for a couple of years. How do you propose to address that post such a disaster like this miscommunication with the police bill, and with us still trying to recover from the pandemic?
Sorry, repeat the
So
question
with
again.
investor confidence, how do you propose to ensure that we regain that from foreign investors, particularly in terms of like an event caused by a miscommunication on the draft police bill now being at the public, with public knowledge?
Thank you for that question, because investor confidence needs environment to be created, and that environment includes law and order and the justice system. We have an archaic system that needs to be addressed, and if we hasten and expedite this process, it will be good for investor confidence in the long term. So that is why it's essential for us to get this sorted and move on with the rest of the process, so that it can, because as I've stated, we need it as a developing country, but it's the environment that is created by governance, law and order and the justice system.
So you as the line minister, you mentioned that it's archaic law. What sort of things you'd like to be seen included in the new act that will come in place after the
That is why we will need to go through the consultations, because we need to look at what areas need to be addressed, what shapes the criminal landscape and the global security environment. These are the things that will dictate what goes into the bill, which will go through the process. So that's very, very critical for us. Let's not deal with issues in isolation. There are things that drive our policies and, of course, our legislations as well. And we need to ensure that this is taken into context before we go into the full process. Let's be mindful of the fact that we need to have good, relevant laws to address the issues that we have, but not only that, but of course it's futuristic as well. Fiji is part of the global world. Of course, we cannot look at ourselves in isolation. There are issues that are happening all over the world that will have some implications on Fiji. And our choice is whether we are going to react or whether we are going to be proactive. And that is why regulations, legislations need to address these issues. And of course, the consultation process is so critical. I have my own views, but let the consultation process take its course, and of course we will be in the process of guiding it and ensuring that all the issues are addressed.
How long will our consultation processes will be, and by when you expect the draft to be submitted to the SDG?
It's hard to put a time frame into this because even in the parliamentary process, if there's still a lot of interests, there are still areas unanswered or yet to be addressed, then it will be going through again the whole process again. So I cannot put a time frame to this, but I think for all of us, it's critical that we address it quickly so that we can have legislation in place that will address the issues, and of course in anticipation of what's coming our way as well.
So a final question. There's been a lot of concern from the general public during these public consultations on who should police the police. Have you had any opportunity to ponder on this idea?
Police, we are very transparent with the police. We have processes in place. Those that fall outside the law, they are taken into task. And that should bring confidence to the public. It is a challenge. We don't condone it, but there are processes in place, and hopefully the changes that will come can take into consideration some of these issues as well. But we should be confident in the fact that all these are not swept under the carpet. They are being addressed appropriately for those that fall outside the system and the laws that are in place. Now,
So some political leaders are saying that the government is losing confidence by getting into this draft bills. So what do you have to say on that?
say that again?
Leaders such as Biman Prasad, he has commented that the government is losing confidence by getting in this draft police bill and the municipal market bill. So what do you have to say on that?
Well, for me as Minister responsible, we have a role to play. And I don't have to justify why we need to have this bill, to have this Act of 1965 reviewed, because it's important for the country. Because that same act will bring investor confidence, will create the environment for growth, and of course we look after the security needs of all the people as well. I'm not distracted. I'm not worried about the comments that they make. We've got duties to perform, and we have stakeholders to address their needs, and that's our focus.
So just along those lines, NFP President Ropiuti Kondondo also said that you were at the launch of the draft document. How did it become public?
I was launching. I did the launching because of the work that we have prepared. But as I've stated and alluded to earlier, but the mistake from the ministry was it was not on the 1965 Act, but they have included the bill into it. So that was the. But of course, we had overlooked the process. We sincerely apologize for that, but we will carry on with it. But at the same time, I need to once again stress that police work doesn't have to be politicized. There's a lot of comments from the political parties about the police work, but it's something that is needed because we need to look at the national security. That's first our priority, and that's foremost. So, and of course, let's make sure that we be factual with what we present as well. The Honorable Tito Tundua has gone on to question about the emergency powers within the Police Act, and he said that this is something that has just been introduced recently in the bill. But unfortunately, he does not know. He's not even aware of what's in the 1965 Act. 1965 Act has given the powers to the Governor General, the same emergency powers to the Governor General. And that has been taken word for word, but just changed Governor General into President. So that has been in the law from 1965. So let's be factual and not political. emphasize the issues.
So just to continue, you mentioned what you mentioned earlier.
I was talking about the emergency powers. The emergency powers that the Honorable Chiringoto was referring to has always been there in the 1965 Act.
No, sir, prior to that, you mentioned on the mistake that the ministry made in putting the bill with the amendment of the 1965 Act.
So I've stated that earlier. What we were supposed to focus on was the review of the 1965 Act, and then that will lead to the formulation of the bill. Yeah. But the unfortunate thing is the bill that or the police draft of what they would like to include was what they presented.
No problem, sir.
Thank you so much.